Welcome to the Private Practice Pro podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping therapists cultivate success. Here's your host, Kelley Stevens.
Welcome back to the Private Practice Pro podcast. I am so excited to have our guests here. So I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves because I feel like on this podcast, I love hearing therapists introduce themselves and talk about their businesses. So I'll just put the work on you.
Awesome.
Tell us who you are and where you are and about your businesses.
Sure. Okay, cool. So my name is Kaitlyn Kenealy. I am a licensed professional counselor by the state of Wisconsin. Currently own my own private practice here in Fond du Lac. It's just called Kenealy Counseling. I opened my practice during a pandemic. Which,
Genius.
in hindsight, was the best thing I've ever done. In hindsight. But it wasn't. It wasn't how I planned it to go, which I feel is also a very business type of experience to have. So that is mainly what I do. Yes, as a psychotherapist, but recently I'm also an author. So I just wrote a book. It's called Healing is Messy as Fuck. So that is doing really well. So I like to now introduce myself as an author. Liz and I also have Tea Time with the Psychos, which we also have as a little separate entity and as our podcast. And I'm really excited about that as well. Both of us are very active within the community and involved in a lot of different projects because, I really believe if we're going to break the stigma, we can't just be inside our four walls. So we are active within the community and doing all that fun stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'm Elizabeth Nelson, and I am a licensed practicing counselor in training. And so I got that August 12th. It was exciting. Yeah. And I currently work at Kaitlyn's private practice for her. And so that's been fun to grow. And we have Tea Time with the Psychos, and I don't have a book. I had no aspirations. So I looked at Kaitlyn's book. It's amazing. And you should buy that. But yeah.
Wait, did you say you have no aspiration to write a book?
Yes, zero.
I love that. As somebody, I wrote a children's book a few years ago, and people often are like, "Are you going to write another book?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know." Like that shit was a lot of work.
Yes,
I get that. Okay, wait, Liz, tell us. So you're working in Kaitlyn. You guys are working together. Who do you see in your practice? Like, who are your people?
So that's what I'm trying to figure out. And so Kaitlyn lets me take some clients that she's like, well, you'll figure it out. Or
we'll see.
Or a lot of them are like children to start with, and then now I'm getting a mix.
Awesome.
And so I would say a majority of mine are females between 18 to 30 right now, with then kiddos. But hopefully maybe I'll get some guys in there and we'll figure it out. And then maybe I'll come full circle in 2 years or a year and be like, all right, this is what I want to work with, right?
Like, this is your niche.
Yeah. She's in the exploratory stages. Yeah. But I also keep telling her that, and you're in private practice and you get to do that. Whereas like agencies, it's this insurance and this is your person and you don't have that option.
Oh, yeah.
So really trying to remind her that this flexibility and this time, like really leaning on me as your supervisor and then her clinical supervisor as well. And I just said I told her that when I look back, I'm so glad I just took everything that everybody said, just tried it out, because this is when you get to be I think of bowling and what are those bumpers that they have on there? This is the time to bump around and to figure it out. So I'm excited for her.
And I love it because you guys are the first pair we've had on the podcast. And I love that you guys work together, because I think so here in California, and I don't know if it's the same, but we call somebody who works with another therapist like a supervisor, supervisee. I don't know how you guys call it, colleagues and associates, or there's all sorts of terms. So in Wisconsin, what is it when there's one person who's a supervisor and one person who's a therapist being supervised? Is there
I would be the supervisor and she would be the supervisee.
Okay. Yeah. That's what I thought. I saw sometimes people have different terms, they get offended. Okay. So
no, there's no offense here. I'm here for it all. Whatever you want to say.
Okay, great. So, but the supervisor-supervisee relationship is complicated. And one, and it's been fun because I've been on your guys' podcast and had a chance to joke around and have fun. And like, I gotta say, your relationship from an outsider's perspective, I would imagine people listening to this are gonna be like, gosh, like I want that. Like I want to have like that sort of relationship, you know? So anyway, okay. So
I love that you say that too, but I think also what we could maybe talk about is that it hasn't been easy. You know, different personalities, different roles, different all these things. But I would say that we do have this, you know, very deep, or at least I have a very deep mutual respect for each other. So that like, and I feel like a relationship is an ebb and a flow. And then in these types of dynamics, you know, it's been more complicated. But when we have come out the other end, and I feel like we are on the other end, it's actually pretty beautiful. So
that's so cool. So how did you guys, what am I trying to say? What would you recommend to other supervisors and supervisees in navigating a relationship so that they get to that place?
Oh, hitting us with the good stuff.
I think that it really, and I don't think we ever sat down and were like, oh, what's your differences and what's this? But I think we generally take the approach that we're very different. And that some of our differences cause us to have turmoil or miscommunications, but we're always coming back. But then I think we have put so much value on what her strengths are and what my strengths are, and really have aligned them so that like, right, you have this one powerhouse, right, of like, this is what she's really good at and this is what I'm really good at. And how can we lean on each other to continue to do that? I think that it's been helpful that we had different employments and backgrounds, but then didn't, right? And so there's also different learning opportunities within that. And I think that we genuinely outside of here are probably very close and supportive friends to one another. And so that has helped. But I also think that that causes, right, a little different dynamic within the workplace that you're trying to maintain what a workplace should be and expectations. But I don't know, Kaitlyn.
Yeah. And from my perspective, like, and when I'm a natural leader, I love leading. And so like, yes, I'm in this supervisor role, but I don't even like to call myself, like, I also take that, like, I take this different approach. Like to me, okay, I know I'm the supervisor. I know I'm the boss or whatever this is, but I don't want her to feel that way. Like I still very much want you at the table. And so I try not to use so I never play that card, or at least I would never try to play that card. To me, if I have to sit here and say, I'm the one, like,
it's my
then
decision
we have another
or else.
issue. Like, then that's just not how I like to play. So I think, again, it's been a lot of trial and error. It's been a lot of mistakes. I've fucked up. Sorry, I don't know if we can swear on
you
yours.
You can cuss as
mine.
much as you want on here. Go for it.
And so, but what I would say is that it's also that personal relationship, those other jobs that we've had where that respect has been built, that at times it's been uncomfortable conversations for sure. Like, I don't think anybody wants to have conflict and it like goes for it that. But I think every single time after the dust has settled, we've both been able to come back to the table and like, okay, I can see what you're saying. Or can I just do this better next time around? And then I think over time, just those small steps have kind of turned into where it is now. So for you, I love that you can say like, oh yeah, I can look at you guys and looks like you guys are having fun and doing that because that's exactly how it's supposed to be. And that's what we want to display. But we also, on the other end, need to acknowledge that it's been like 6 to 7 years in the making to get us where we're going.
I didn't realize you guys had been together for that long. That's amazing. So how did you guys meet?
We met at the domestic violence shelter in town here. And so I had recently moved to town and Kaitlyn was on her transition to getting her LPCIT. And I always tell the story. She freaking has this pink winter headband and it has a bow. And I still have it. She's still wearing it. I enjoy painting, so this is going to be her next gift. But I can literally physically see her while I'm going through orientation. And this girl's got her clickety-clack high heels on, her black flare business pants. And she's walking in with this winter bandana. And I'm like, who is she? And then she ended up being the person like training and supervising me, and in a sense in that role of like I took over her position when she transitioned into a different one. And so
when you work she says she learned more in those 15 minutes than she did that entire time she was there.
And she hasn't forgotten it. Hasn't forgotten it.
I was like, all right, get in here. Let's go. Which again is very much like my personality.
Right.
So I don't remember the interaction. When she tells me I can remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was how it started.
But then when you're working in that crisis-driven environment, right? Like this is one of the light fixtures started on fire, right? Like, so like we're working together and like, right? Like you're laughing. Then you go through a whole tornado drill, right? And then other people's crisis, right? And then having to navigate those, like you do build a connection and you're watching each other work and you're picking up and you're seeing those things, right? And then we just progressed and ebbed and flowed from there. And that's what our friendship did, ups and downs. But we always stayed connected. And then honestly, between a personal experience and understanding and getting to know Kaitlyn was like a driving factor to enter this field, right? Because she was a good leader and a mentor and someone that like was like, yes, this is purpose work, right? And this is where I need to be. And
I really just like, and I tell Liz this all the time, like I want her, even if her vision doesn't align with mine in the future, I'm okay with that because I fully support her, like 100%.
Yeah.
And I think, and then vice versa. And we got to this place of like, it's not this personal attack on you. Like, it's not that I don't like you as a person.
Right.
It just means that we may not be aligning where I need to go business-wise in that regards. And so I think, again, that has helped over these years of not being like, oh my God, she doesn't like this personal attack against her. So I think that's been a foundational thing, which I think correlates to the
Yeah, that's
and
huge.
then I think it goes back to like finding out like what Kaitlyn needs from me looks different, right, than what I need from her. And so if I'm the one filing the paperwork and shredding it, then that's what I can give to her. And that's okay. And I don't see that as a downgrade or a disrespect thing. That's just what I can offer her. And so in the flip side, she gives me the things that I need as well.
Right.
So yeah.
I always think
shred
that
the paperwork. Everybody
then your supervisor gives you.
Okay, can I give you a hot tip on shredding paperwork? So I recently learned that a lot of accountants' offices, and at least mine and a few other ones in town, have like a shredding day. Okay, it's free. My accountant does this for free. So we save all of our shredding. And then once a year, as like a perk of being a client of this accountant, I go and it's like this massive, like it's a truck, like a full truck. And you just dump the shredding in and it just like, you just watch it like confetti. It's the most fucking incredible. It's the best.
We need that because the shredder, which you can't
the
see,
shredder is like,
it overheats.
Yeah.
It overheats and then you got to wait 30 minutes. And I'm like, is the office going to start on fire? Kaitlyn would not like that. And I was like, for sure.
Right? Does my liability insurance cover that?
It does.
Yeah.
It should.
No, it should, right? But who knows? Of course it would be,
You guys might just need a new shredder. Like maybe like that's your holiday gift to each other. Just like
or
a
I
fall
just need
measure.
to keep up on her. Yeah.
Or just
So
like
it's
get
not
an
so
accountant that shreds it. You know, like I'm
clever.
willing to bet you. Also, there's like public. Oh, I don't know if that's HIPAA compliant, but I know that like the accountant one, you watch it being shredded. You know,
Yeah.
Or like national shredding. There's like companies that you can pay to shred.
Yes,
Anyway,
there is a National Shredding Day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
we'll have to look into that then.
So
Thanks.
let's talk a little bit about launching a podcast because this is something that I feel like a lot of therapists want to do and a lot of us have the goal of doing, but like the nitty gritty of actually sitting down and doing it. So like, how did you guys get yourselves to actually just do it? How did that evolve?
Sure. Okay, so here's what I would say. The original idea is Liz's. She and I, we would talk all the time. But then again, so I think what you're going to pick up on are two different skill sets here. Okay. So Liz had the idea. I think she got so frustrated because I was like, let's just, we can do it. We can do it. I don't even listen to podcasts. Okay. So let me tell you that I wasn't into it. But I was like, okay. And then finally she was so frustrated with me. She was annoyed and I could just feel it. Okay. And I was like, all right, Lizzie, we're going to do it. I have my office space now. So we have a place. Because I just wanted, like, in my mind, I was like, we just need a space to do it.
Podcast
like
studio.
Yes. Yes. And so maybe I was putting it off, but I also had no interest because I had never listened to podcasts. So I was like, okay, whatever.
Right.
But then my skill set is creating the structure, is putting it into place, is finding the person or finding this platform, doing this, creating the logo. So like that's my skill set. So, okay, then those things started to go. And then Liz, more of the tech side of things, we did it on her computer. We still have the original
GarageBand.
Wait, did you film it in GarageBand originally?
Not even film. That's the audio. Yeah. So then I like watched a bunch of YouTubes. They're like, you need the intro and the extra. And I was like, listen, we got to do this. And so we have it saved. And so I still use GarageBand. There's no editing. I don't know how to edit. Which is the issue. So like our significant others will listen. They'll be like, well, we were in the car turning it up and turning it down, like, because you get loud and then you get quiet.
Yeah. So that's the backstory.
That's amazing.
So again, that's business. That's not, we don't know. And you're not supposed to totally have a plan. But then I was like, and then my skill set, right? Oh, now I want social media. Now I want this. And so I'm putting those things into play and I move quick. Which also I didn't realize. I just assumed everybody moved at my pace.
Listen, she moves so fast, she has to tell me. I think I told you this, but I know I may not have, so I'm going to retell you because I think I just told myself it.
Are you an audio? Do you guys audio message to each other?
No, I think we'd lose our minds, honestly.
You should
do it. We're both dyslexic.
Two dyslexics.
It's a lot of the hearts and the exclamation points.
No, but
it would be like, oh, listening. We FaceTime a lot. That's probably it. Like, right? Yeah.
FaceTime.
But yes, you could. But then we'd have to go and click it.
Yeah. So again, two different visions, two different aligning, but different skill sets. Okay.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, people were loving it. I was like, what?
I love it. Yeah.
I didn't think anybody would listen. I'm dead serious. I don't even listen to podcasts. So I was like, what the heck? But then, so now we're getting traction, right? Which is, I feel like, how you do in business too. And all of a sudden, I'm like, why are people listening to this?
Right.
Oh my goodness. But also our visions have changed too, but we didn't always effectively communicate those things. And I don't think that there's any shame in that. I just think it's the reality of the situation. But then I started getting referrals from the podcast.
You're like,
and I was like, whoa. People, but that helped because now I don't have to build as much trust and rapport. So what I would say to therapists that are thinking about it, as somebody who I'm genuinely telling you still doesn't listen to podcasts except for a couple random select few, I will listen to my own randomly, but I will tell you that it has helped my practice because I never thought anybody would listen. And now people are like, Kaitlyn, I like your style. I like that you swear. I like those things.
Yeah.
So they already have the buy-in. So I have to do less work. So I would tell any therapist that it has helped so, and especially from somebody who I don't even partake in it, is that it can help build your practice. So I was like, okay. And now it's really, it's an entity. And although we're doing like a refresh or a rebrand, it's already built it out there. And I love that people will say like, hey, I listened to that episode and I loved what you said. And then another thing is that now in session, I can say, hey, you know what? Liz and I have a podcast on that. Your homework is to listen to it. What do you get from it?
So, I like that.
Yes. So it's also enhanced the therapeutic process.
Right. And we can use that with her book too. So her book has all of these other little things. And so that's a lot of times what I'll rely on is, hey, listen to our podcast. But then Kaitlyn already has this and you should either get the book or sometimes she gives me permission to just send a little snippet. So that then either that gets them to buy the book, which is helpful in all areas, but also that's just an additional tool. She doesn't know this, but I was talking to someone in the community.
Oh God,
bring it up.
Supervisor in a safe space.
So on the podcast.
This person was telling me that they usually listen to comedy podcasts. And so their friend was like, what comedian has that laugh? And it was her, and it was our podcast. And so they didn't hear her laugh from the other room because we had told this person to give it a listen because they were interested in youth mental health. And I was like, actually, we just did one. and you should, but there it is, right? And so
you guys are
funny.
genuinely funny. Like I find your podcast like very enriching, but also like your dynamic I find genuinely good. Like and like there are moments that are funny, you know?
I hope that one day someone writes a comment and they're like, Liz, we picked up on Kaitlyn trying to redirect you. Like, that's what I feel. Like, there are some times where she's over there, like, so I'm a little nervous to record, but she's like looking at me, and I'm like, well, we're not going to edit it, but sure, okay. But yeah.
But then it's that feedback. So that's back to your question. It's those types of feedbacks and that interaction of like, hey, you guys have this really good rapport with each other. Now, granted, we know that, but the fact that it comes across to people, to me, then that means that the message is getting out there. And if we can stick to the message and what is important, and then we can work on the relationship, that's actually mirroring what we teach people.
Oh, yeah. And
so
what you're doing in therapy. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So that's also what I try to pull back to is that, listen, you know, because I think a lot of times, you know, we deal with trauma and unhealthy relationships and domestic violence and all of this. And so they get confused in the sense that then when they've gone from something so unhealthy to healthy that they think it has to be perfect. But a relationship is not perfect, right? Friendships are relationships, like anything like that. So the more you can emulate that and have that, the more then people can be like, huh, then I can do it too.
I think it's a safe place for like self-disclosure too, right? Like in an appropriate way of that. That allows for maybe a potential client or patient or someone who values us as people is to say like, hey, they've shared enough, right? And we don't have to feel like we have to go there within that session because they've probably listened and understand like, right? Oh, they talked about this experience that they went through. And so when they tell me about trauma or their attachments, I'm going to believe that, you know, and so there's always that buy-in. So I would say that that's what's super great about the podcast, especially with the co-host, right? Like that we always have. Because as an individual, you can, and you can have guests on and build that too. I think just having that co-host makes it a little more authentic, but.
Well, yeah. And I love what you said about the fact that people listening get to establish trust with you guys from the beginning, and that there's two layers to that, right? There's a layer of the fact that they're seeing your relationship longevity with each other, and that like maybe one of you is redirecting the other one, or you're like kind of like in couple therapy, like you're modeling healthy communication for them, even if there is conflict, right? And then on top of that, you're already letting them to know you guys, and so you know I don't know. And I like what you said about building trust.
Yeah. And no, for sure. I totally agree. And that to me, so when I think about the work and then what we need to work on and all of those things, because that's me, that's my skill set. I'm down the road. I'm 3 to 5 years. I'm visual, like all this stuff. Then I hear the feedback, and the feedback is quality, and it's those different things. So on some level, we're doing it right, but we can be doing it better. And so that's the part. So then I to focus on, good. I'm glad that you're liking that. Let's go. Whoosh.
Right.
So that's exciting.
That is.
So I would say to anybody that wants to start, just start. I don't know how many.
We have snowball microphones that we've never used.
I have a snowball.
It's probably
mine's right there.
You don't know. We probably didn't know how to use it though. Honestly, like that's the right. Like that was the research, but so that didn't stop us. We just didn't use a microphone. We used the MacBook.
And I tell people like, listen, my skill set is research and this and that.
Right.
And so what helped me was everybody just said start. Start. Just start.
And
our first episode is like our most listened to episode.
It's the worst audio. Oh my God, it's horrific.
I really think
totally cool.
The tech is the hardest fucking part for me. Like we started this.
Who told us how to do this?
We recorded this podcast like 20 minutes late because I couldn't figure out how to work my fucking blue snowball microphone that you're talking about. That was the problem. If I could just record. But I agree with you. Yeah, as therapists, like all of a sudden, you know, you open a freaking practice in the middle of a pandemic and you have to learn how to do telehealth. Then all of a sudden everyone's on social media. Then all of a sudden everyone's on podcasts. You're like, wait, it's like I need YouTube diversity. You know, like I watch so much YouTube on like how, and I agree completely with you that the biggest barrier is starting. It's like, you know, I agree. Okay, wait, let's talk about
that's
the
why,
book
you
too.
know, it had to start. Oh,
Yeah, you just got to start. But let's get
yeah.
into the book because people are going to want to know. So was it the same with the book where you're like, I just got to start and do it? Or how did the birthplace of books is mystery for people? Like, like everyone's like, I want to write a book, but has
Yes.
zero idea how. So tell me, what was the birthplace of your book?
Sure. So it was always in me. I will say that. Okay. My first master's degree is in gender and women's studies. We took this class. It was an autobiographical class. And I remember sitting there. It was the hardest class I've ever taken. I then had to write my own autobiography. I basically had the biggest meltdown of my life. Like, it's one thing to talk about your stuff, but then when you write it down.
Oh, totally
and
different.
then I just said, yeah, I'm going to write a book someday. I just remember saying that. Okay. And then I probably started and stopped 15 to 20 times. No joke. So I've got a bunch that are like out there. But then I saw a speaker, Jess Eckertstrom. She came here to Fond du Lac, to the Women's Fund, blah, blah, blah. And she said, just write the dang book. So I ended up taking her course. Of course, I didn't follow everything within the course. But the thing that helped me was she said, you have to have your tree trunk. Start with the tree trunk, and then off your branches will be all these other things. So all of a sudden, I had to find that visual click for me, and everybody's is going to be different. And so that visual click, and I was just like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. But so I started writing and started doing that. But then the publishing, I had no idea how to publish a book.
How does that
so it's
work?
just like all these things.
Right.
I honestly, I did. What was I good at?
YouTube-versity.
Research.
Yeah.
I call it Instagram-versity.
Instagram-versity.
I'm going to tell you.
Google-versity.
Yeah, because honestly, everything that I set up. So then I started setting up discovery calls. Then I started doing these different things. I was talking to different agencies. And I was also very strategic that I didn't want to just be Wisconsin-based. So I actually went with an agency in Canada. Okay.
Oh.
So that was very deliberate.
So why? People are going to, literally, we're going to get comments. Why?
Why? Because I want to reach a bigger audience. This book has the opportunity to do that because I believe in it and I know it.
Yeah.
And I'm living in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. Okay. You don't even know where it is, and that's fine.
I don't.
Okay. So, and I have nobody to ask here how to publish a book. So I said, Kaitlyn, you got right. So then but nobody told me that. So it was just like intuitively, I wanted to reach a bigger audience. So I'm going to have to advocate for that. Then I also signed up for my business coach. She's in England. Okay.
Holy shit. Very strategic.
Yes. Yeah. And I should say I'm also up for a Canadian Book Club award. So,
oh my God, dude.
Yeah. I'm up against an international bestseller. He, does a lot of things with Harvard, and I'm up against an Olympic athlete. But how cool is that?
But you're there. You're in the conversation. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So again, I just started doing research and I started looking at different agencies, setting up the discovery calls and talking through that. And then, the book has been done for a while. It's been the editing and all those other phases. But so that's how it came to life.
Right.
But I didn't. So long story short, this wasn't the original book I was going to write. To me, this is kind of like the sampler platter.
What was?
And that every chapter is its own book. So I'm technically working on what I have the title
books?
right now. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Dude. Girl, your brain works like
but
mine.
I had to get it out. And so right now the chapter I'm working on, it's called Traumatized. And so I'm figuring out how to conceptualize and to do those things. And then I plan on actually, because this is more of like a workbook, but I don't like to call it a workbook because it is actually a booky workbook.
Yeah.
But we rolled with that. But then moving forward, every single one will have its own chapter. So
then are you working
those
with
are the branches.
So the Canadian company is a marketing agency or how does that work?
So when you publish a book, you can do self-publishing.
Yeah.
You can do a self-publishing agency, or you go the traditional route.
Right.
They are a self-publishing agency.
Got
so
it.
They just help you with it. So that's what,
great.
so they're actually called the self-publishing agency in Canada. They threw a launch party in July for me and a couple other authors. So I got to go there, got to meet everybody. And now I'm in a book club award. which I don't think I'll win. But
hey.
I'm in a good audience. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I would say is everybody has a story within them. And the thing that worked for me was the tree trunk, the visualization, and then you have to start with something. And so that really was a way for me to say, okay. And then the branches are the other chapters.
Yeah.
So once I could grasp that, I was like, okay, then you just have to start. And so easy for me to say now, but I had no guidance. I've done this all by myself, and I did it all through research, and a lot of it was through Instagram. I'm not kidding you. Those discovery calls, because I would set them up and be like, this doesn't align with my vision.
Right.
I had so many different interviews and all of that stuff. And then the people I picked were good people. And so I had no regrets in that regards.
That makes having a good team makes such a huge difference. And
that's what I wanted, because you had to buy the vision. And that's what I said, is like, you have to buy this vision because it's a different vision. And then this team, and then what they were able to do. And it aligned, but it was work to get there. And I had no blueprint. I just created the blueprint.
And I think, as we've talked about, whether it's the podcast or your guys' practice or your careers or your relationship as supervisor, supervisee, friends, all of it, that's what I'm hearing you say is you're creating your own blueprint of how you want your career to go across the board. And when you don't know, you Google it or Instagram it or whatever.
Yeah. Well, you tap into your strengths.
Yeah.
So mine is research, and I can visualize, and I can see, and I can implement, and I'm disciplined, and I can pivot, and I will make different choices. I'm pretty good at all of those things.
Right.
So I just have to listen to myself and trust it, which can also be kind of hard too. Where then Liz's skill set comes into place, because she's more when I think of her, it's more of Liz can I can have the concepts, but then she can break the concepts down and hack them out and put them in an Excel form. Or
that is impressive. Yeah,
it is. It's not in my head, so that's
Excel
what I mean about the complimenting. Yeah, right.
Come hang out with me. I need help.
Liz can do those.
Yeah,
things.
Liz moves to Santa Barbara.
What?
Yeah.
Yep. I will. For a solid 6 months.
That would be great.
Yeah.
You can stay in my guest room.
Yes, I would love it.
This is okay. So we're going to have a part 2 at some point, especially as you rebrand or not rebrand. Sorry, relaunch, what do you on my team, we call it glow up. When one of our products is they're getting a glow up.
Yeah.
You're going to have a glow up on the podcast. And as the book continues to sell, I already have my copy of the book, which I'm super excited about. So first of all, how can people find you guys? What's the contact deets? Where do they follow you?
What's your with this? Yeah, on Instagram, Tea Time with the Psychos, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, right? You can just type that in.
Facebook,
the Psychos.
Facebook.
Yep. Those
I
are
love
our
your
entities.
logo too. Okay, perfect. And it'll be tagged
She
for
loves
anyone.
the logo. Let's
talk
about the logo.
Tell me about the logo.
I like it, but does it need a glow up?
I'd have to look at it. I'll give you my honest opinion.
Okay,
I haven't looked at it in a little while, but I like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm nostalgic, so I'm like, oh, it's the original.
I know.
What? But Liz might want something different.
Well, I just think that was the first thing that Kaitlyn was like, here, we're purchasing this from a freaking person. And then we figured out that we figured out that Canva existed and we could have created our own for free.
You should have seen my first logo. My first logo is very deep. I definitely bought it on Etsy. And then I was like, wait, every other therapist in the world has this same chair, No offense to anyone who has a chair logo. But which is all of us, right? We all have the chair logo, or the Lotus. Anyway,
yes.
Well, text it to me. I'll tell you what I think. Okay, so anyone who's looking for you, put it in it'll be in the comments, or sorry, not the comments. What do we call it? The show notes. It'll be. See, I don't even know what it's called. Your contact info will be in the show notes, and we'll have you back for a part 2 one day. And thank you guys so much for coming. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us.
This podcast is sponsored by Simple Practice. I've been using Simple Practice since 2016, which has helped me run a smooth and profitable private practice over the years. It has simplified everything from scheduling to billing, giving me a better balance between the work I'm so passionate about and the family time I'm not willing to miss out on. check out the episode notes to get a free 2-month trial of Simple Practice, my preferred all-in-one HIPAA-compliant solution. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Ask Kelley Anything, the segment of this show where you get to ask your private practice questions. I love hearing from you guys, and I love listening to the voicemails with all the questions you submit about private practice. So without further ado, let's get into today's question.
Hi, Kelley. I love your page. I wanted to ask a quick question for the podcast. I went searching through your post, and I couldn't remember if you had a post on how to handle clients showing up late to session. If this was you and you had a policy of not showing sessions after X amount of minutes, please let me know. I would love if you could share that policy on your podcast. Thank you so much.
Ooh, okay, this is a juicy one. And one, it's funny. I would say being a therapist, private practice coach on Instagram, because this is a topic where when I'm post on this, people get a little heated, let me tell you. So I'm going to tell you what I do with the caveat that I always say, you have to do what's best for your private practice. So in my private practice, I do not start sessions after 20 minutes has elapsed in that session. And I say that in my private practice paperwork. I say, if more than 20 minutes have gone by, or if you're going to be more than 20 minutes late, the session is forfeited and you do owe the full fee. Now, I'm not a cold, heartless person, right? If a client texts me and they're running late from school and their kid is sick and something, life comes up. Obviously, I often give clients one get out of jail free card or one free pass on rules like this. But this is really a policy that I have for the people who are chronically late, who, maybe the first time it happens, I give them a pass, but then I remind them that my policy is not to start sessions more than 20 minutes late. And, sometimes clients will say, or other therapists will even say, but that's their time, right? They're paying for that time. And what I remind other clinicians and what I remind clients when they say that is actually, you're not just paying for 50 minutes of my time. You're paying for a therapy session. And what I believe a therapy session to be is a 50-minute session where we are both fully present and engaged in the process of therapy. And so if you're running late and you're more than 20 minutes late, we run the risk of opening up some big issues and then not being able to have the time to really sort them out and to really give them their due diligence. And then you actually can leave the session feeling more like an open wound than when you came in. And my goal for you is for therapy to be a safe space, and that doesn't feel very safe to me. And I'll explain that to clients. Now, like I said, there's always exceptions. Certainly I have had situations where clients are running late and I've started. But typically what I also do is I will send clients a text at the 20-minute mark. So let's say they completely are no-showing. They haven't called, they haven't texted, and that text will say, "Hi, so-and-so, this is Kelley. I just want to check in, number one, and make sure that you're okay. I have us down for a session today at 1 o'clock. It's now 1:20, and you're not here, so I'm going to be leaving the office. Please text me and let me know if you're okay, and let's find a time to reschedule." I still do charge for that session, but I typically don't text clients 5 minutes into the session, 10 minutes into the session, because what I want to avoid is a client who is across town who totally forgot that they have therapy, that's like racing to get there. And part of this is because I actually send out a reminder text about therapy 24 hours before. So they've already received a reminder the day before. If they're at the point where they're in the grocery store line and they're going to rush to my office to be there by 20 minutes, I want to avoid that too, because really that's not the nature of the therapy work that I do with my clients. I explain all of that to them. It's not a perfect science, and people do get frustrated sometimes, but I find that it really allows for the therapy space to be a safe space for the clients. So this isn't an easy boundary to hold, and you're going to have to navigate it one case at a time, but I hope this helps. If you would like to be featured on Ask Kelley Anything, I love getting listener questions from you guys. Anything about private practice goes. And the best way to do that is actually just to give me a call and leave me a question on my voicemail. So I'm going to tell you the phone number right now and make sure to write it down. Here it is. 805-243-8241. I'm looking forward to hearing from you.